Okay, so in the kitchen, we've got your toe kick on. So we got most of that toe kick done. You can see Blake cut out for the toe kick vents. Um, also you can see we've got all your trim done in the house, most of the base and the case. And so hopefully this is showing this well, but everything's trimmed out nicely. I've gone through in great detail, and all the work that Blake has done looks really good. I really like the profile on the base that you chose. I wanted to mostly spend my time in the kitchen talking about the countertops. I did my template with Miguel's templater on Friday, and I made sure to pass on all those details that we talked about. We went with a 1-inch radius on the corners. That's really about what you want for a 50-cent piece, so that's kind of how that correlated there. We've got this wine rack unit in and installed, the correct one. We also got these guys in. So you can see that your sink base centers nicely under that window, and it fits the way it's supposed to here on this wall. So all that is finally done. Okay, so I'm going to start on this wall and just chat with you real quick. So they're thinking that they're going to be able to get this all done in one piece. I told them to call me if there's any issues, but basically notching out that top for these, the studs on the windows, so that your countertop goes all the way into each window like we planned on, and not having to cut a little piece to fill that gap. The one thing that we talked about was, some of the drywall return, really it never is perfectly square. There's always a little bit of a variation, especially because of the texture. But if there's a gap that happens as this comes back square, then we'll caulk that with a caulking that matches the paint on the wall. And so I think that's going to be a really nice look, and they said they'd have no problem doing that. On this wall, this is the one wall we decided not to do a 4-inch backsplash on. I think that it just wouldn't look as clean. That includes this section. This would be the only section that I was thinking about doing a 4-inch backsplash on, but I really don't think that we need it, because if we did one around each window, I think that might get a little too bulky, and it actually might stick out past this part of the window frame. It's a little bit thicker than that, so I didn't want to wrap each one of these with a backsplash. Tell me if you have a different opinion, because we measured it. It's not too late to do anything on that note right here. The other thing that I wanted to move on to was your countertop on the island. So the templater, he told me that he did not think that it was necessary to have a piece of angle iron here to support the countertop. He said that the countertop material is super strong that you guys had chosen, and he didn't think it was necessary. So I just wanted to bring that up. I will definitely, I'm still planning on meeting with Scott, the metal worker, next week to go through getting this measured and done. But I wanted to just mention that to you, that he didn't think that this was necessary. He thought the countertop was strong enough to not have any issues in this area. And we, I put a tape on it. We measured it just to confirm, and he said, yeah, that should be fine. But just let me know what you think about that. We can always do that after the fact, even if we don't. But anyway, I'm still planning on doing that bracket. We can talk about that on Monday. All right, I'm just going to move this in here. And then on this wall, so one thing I wanted to point out, you can see Dario has trimmed, these outlets. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to take this trim off when the countertops go on, because we're having a backsplash between this countertop and the countertop on the half wall. And so what we end up with here, once you account for the thickness of this countertop to the top of this wall, we end up with about 4.5 inches for the backsplash here. And so what I had him do is I had him make the backsplash here so it goes all the way from this top all the way up to the bottom of this top, so it covers this entire wall. And And I carried that dimension all the way through. So it's going to match up and line up and not step down to a 4-inch. We're just going to carry it 4.5 inches all the way around. So we have a 4.5-inch backsplash all the way around in here. There's no other backsplashes in here, so it's not something that you're going to notice as being different than other 4-inch backsplashes. Just wanted to mention that to you. And I'll show you the under cabinet lighting that we got going on in here. I'll see if Dario got that turned on. Can't remember which, yep, he did. So we got some lights getting turned on in here right now. And you know, they look really good. I'll turn on some more lights as well. I don't have the bulbs in your cans yet, so there's a lot of lights that we just won't be able to turn on, but I'll turn them on when I can. Got your ceiling fan up and the other can lights in. Got all your windowsills done. This is your remote and balancing kit for the fan. But those windowsills look really nice. Blake did a really good job on putting that together. So we'll fill these nail holes at our final paint walkthrough. We'll be coming back through and doing some touch up, and we'll use the putty that's supplied by the manufacturer, by Sun Mountain, to fill those nail holes everywhere. Got this nice baseboard. You know, you can kind of see I've got the floor still protected because there's all this work going on. I don't want it to get scratched up, but the baseboard goes really well with your oak floors. Got most of the electric trim done in the house, actually. But yeah, I think your trim turned out really nice. You know, I think the casing detail is really good on the doors. You can see, something I really like is you can see that the header casing is a little bit proud of the jam leg casing. I like that detail where this meets up with something that's a little bit thicker. It just makes this joint nice and clean. And we did that on all your header trim. And then there is a piece of trim that goes here that covers these staples between the transom window and the door. And we have that in the garage, it's just not in yet. All right. So all the baseboard's done. We've got your bookshelves in. Those turned out really nice. I think all of them did. You know, we got a little bit of trim here on almost all of the cabinets where it meets those soffits. Nice and tight. A little bit on the ends here. These cabinets will probably do the same thing, but we actually don't need it on these three. But you know, that's something that we can talk about either during our walkthrough or, you know, on Monday, whether or not you want me to put a little piece of scribe mold here if we don't need it to match what we did on this side. You just let me know what you think. All right, so I'm gonna walk over to Paul's side. I wanted to show you how this turned out. You know, that turned out really nice. It's all solid wood there. You know, the headers come together nice and flush. They're level right at the top. And so I think that turned out really good for your closet. And we ended up with plenty of material for the trim. So there is some left over on some items. For every item, actually, we had a little bit more casing than we needed, so that's probably the most plentiful in terms of what we have left over. But you know, this ended up matching the cabinet almost perfectly, I think. This was a really good color choice match to what we ended up doing on your doors and trim. We ended up with, I think, the perfect clearance underneath your doors. We have about a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch underneath each door. So not too much, not too little, but remember we have dedicated returns in each one of your rooms. So air shouldn't be rushing under the door like you get in a typical house that has a main return in the living room for the entire home. So all the air from Paul's room will be returning to the furnace through this duct right here. I'll just kind of back up and show you what that looks like. I don't know what's going on with the hardware. It's the weekend, so I wasn't able to contact build.com. But anyway, I'll let you know what I find out on that. Here's your closet. Turned out really nice. You know, here I'll close this fully so you can see what the reveal ended up being, which I think was perfect the way Blake spaced it. And he got some trim here to cover the track. You know, he actually ripped a piece of baseboard because we had this extra. And I think that looks really nice the way it angles back right there for these bypass doors. So there's your closets. I did talk to Mark Arnold, and he's going to be up here getting ready to trim out your fireplaces in the next couple weeks. So we'll be able to show you how that's looking. And let me just move on into the bathrooms. All right, so got your lights on in here. Yep, here we go. They came with some LEDs. One thing I wanted to confirm with you guys is how you want to do the mirrors. I'm not in front of my notes right now, so I can't remember if we have written down just slab mirrors. I will wait until we get the countertops in to get those templated, but maybe that's something we can talk about on Monday, tomorrow afternoon. But you know, the plugs ended up being pretty much perfectly placed on your countertop. And I'll leave those on while I'm in here. I just turned the fan on. I'm not sure if he's plugged that in, but I did it so that I could kind of let you hear how quiet these fans are, if it actually is energized. So I'll let it go. All right, so you got your tile done. Nice clean line here where it meets your floor. And I think the tile looks great. You know, this baseboard here that we did is looking really good. Yeah, the fan is on full speed right now. So I don't know if you can hear it if I'm quiet. But that's pretty much all you're going to hear on that fan. So here's something I'm going to point out here. I mentioned it the other day, is this this clipped corner on this bullnose detail on the tile. So when we go into Carla's bath, I want to reference back to this, showing you how we did this 45-degree angle here for this tile joint. I want to see if you want me to change Carla's bathtub surrounding, primarily, and her shower actually, to be like this versus what it is now. It's not a big deal. We can definitely change that. I just noticed that it was done differently, and I'll show you why, but it's one of those things I kind of wanted your input on. Niche looks really good. There is some grout cleanup we still need to do. There's some grout lines that are bigger than they need to be because they haven't done a full clean out yet, in case you see that. But got your floor looking good. And then we're ready for plumbing trim here for your shower and the handheld and your valves. So it's all looking really good. Here's one question for you, Paul. We can write this down if you're watching this video, but this drain, obviously we need to do some cleanup on the cuts here, but I wanted to ask you, because of this square tile, if you would rather have a square drain. We can cut that out and put a square drain in there. What we're going to do is we're going to clean up this joint look. You've got kind of an uneven cut on the floor tile here. But I just want to make sure that, you know, if you wanted to